11 shootings, 3 of them fatal. Police reveal more details about the deadly long weekend violence in our city.
And the city's latest murder victim is a 15-year-old boy who's supposed to start grade 11 today at Weston Collegiate.
And the TTC is upgrading the streetcar power network on Queens Quay and Fleet Street. We've got details and rider reaction.
And another first day of school, it's in the books. We're going to hear from the parents and kiddos tonight about making the grade.
You're watching Live at 5.
Good evening. I'm Bakari Savage.
And I'm Lena Latifat. Thanks so much for joining us. Toronto police are sounding the alarm tonight about a shocking number of shootings in the city over the Labor Day long weekend.
We begin with the numbers. There were 11 shootings in 10 different police divisions all across the city. 3 of the shootings were fatal. Police provided an update this afternoon. They have seized 6 firearms and charged 6 suspects. The message to the public, if you see something, say something. They're urging any witnesses to get in touch.
We are also learning the city's latest murder victim is a teen boy. Family members confirmed 15-year-old Mario Giddings died in hospital. This after being shot last night at a plaza near Black Creek and Trethewey. Police believe he was targeted and multiple rounds were fired at him. He was shot just steps away from a police station.
I want justice for him. I want the police, because if there is camera, they have to arrest that person that do that to him, because he didn't deserve to die like that. He didn't deserve to die like that. Never. I have 2 sons, and they are the best friend of Mario. And I don't know how. I don't want them to leave the house. I don't want them to go nowhere. I don't even want them to go to school.
Just gut-wrenching reaction from the community there. For the latest on the police response to the deadly violence in the city, let's bring in our crime analyst, Steve Ryan, outside Toronto Police headquarters. Not every day you hear the Toronto Police Service saying they, too, are shocked about the number of shootings in Toronto.
I think that speaks to the crisis, if you will, that we are in right now. Look, we can't ask any of our police services to do any more than what they are doing. They are taking guns off the street on a daily basis. They are doing projects on the weekly basis. We've covered them, Lena. We've covered them anywhere from Toronto, Peel, York, Durham, the OPP. Every time they hold a press conference, it's the same old, same old. And what I mean by that are there are some common denominators, and they always are repeat offenders, people out on bail, guns seized from the United States. Oftentimes the offenders are young offenders, or they are people that have already been ordered by the court not to possess firearms. So there is solutions to this problem, and I think we're at a stage now where arrests are not enough to solve this issue. We see the police, like again, on the daily basis, go through this tremendous work, but they need help. And they need help when it comes to keeping repeat offenders in custody until their trial. If somebody's convicted of a gun crime, stiffer sentences. For young offenders, stiffer sentences as well. And the borders need to be sealed up. Until those things are done, the police are going to continue doing the same thing on the weekly basis, seizing gun after gun after gun. And we're going to hear heartache, like we just heard from that mom who lost her 15-year-old son just yards away from 12th Division yesterday. I was at that scene just after 8:30 p.m. and it was in a strip plaza on Trethewey and Black Creek. 12th Division is just south of there. So even the presence of a police station is not a deterrent when it comes to these brazen shootings. More needs to be done, and I think that is the reason why we heard from the Toronto Police today, going from the staff superintendent to the inspector and the inspector of homicide, actually, who we're going to hear from right now. Here's more from Inspector Lemanis, who spoke earlier today at this press conference. Let's listen.
In regards to the homicide that occurred last night of the 15-year-old, the investigation does show at this point that he was targeted. I can also tell you that there were multiple rounds fired at the deceased. At this point, the investigative team is out there currently right now. As you can appreciate, it's very early on in the investigation, and yesterday being a holiday, a lot of the businesses were closed, so therefore the video canvass pretty much has started. So we are gathering as much information as we can at this point.
Let's just give some context to the amount of guns that are coming in from the U.S. Toronto police said today that 85% of the 491 guns seized by them alone this year have come in from the United States. So you can see where those holes are, and those holes need to be plugged, and there needs to be tougher sentences when it comes to the judiciary before we see any improvement in what's going on right now in the GTA. I'll send it back to the desk.
CP24's crime analyst Steve Ryan. Thank you. Well, police have identified a man arrested in a fatal shooting in Brampton.
23-year-old Parmveer Singh is charged with first-degree murder in the shooting last Friday at Millstone Drive and St. Tropez Court. The victim was found dead behind the wheel of a running vehicle in a resident's driveway. Police continue to investigate the motive.
And Premier Doug Ford also talked about gun violence during a stop in Brampton. Ford was asked about legislation that would give homeowners more rights to defend themselves during robberies.
You know, you try to do this down in the States, two things are going to happen. You're getting caught and you're going to jail for years, or the homeowner is going to shoot you, one of the two. And I'd rather keep guns out of communities, and I'd rather really support our police that we're putting a lot more money into guns and gangs across the region, and just supporting our police. But the judges and the JPs have to keep them in jail, and the federal government has to change the criminal code.
And Ontario Provincial Police in the Central Region laid more than 2,000 charges during their Labor Day weekend traffic initiative.
2,034 charges were laid across the region. That includes Cottage Country. 986 of the charges were for speeding. 47 charges were related to impaired driving. Officers issued 410 warnings. And speaking of traffic, well, let's try to, hopefully think that the traffic news is better, maybe?
Yeah, Heather Seaman, let's find out.
Not quite. It's busy out there. A lot of people heading home from the first day of school. So we have a lot more cars, a lot more vehicles on area roads and highways. This is an example right here, 401 through Dufferin. On the westbound side, we had a crash in the collectors. That has since cleared. All lanes reopened, but again, we're still seeing that volume. And a stalled vehicle off to the shoulder, eastbound 401. In the express, not too far off from Dufferin, that is also cleared, but you can see that volume continues. 404 southbound DBP combination, a lot of volume from Finch to south of the 401, northbound Don Valley Parkway. Most of the volume right now from approaching Millwood to north of Lawrence. And the eastbound Gaudreau, we still have that earlier crash off to the right shoulder, just before Jameson. Most of the volume from South Kingsway to past Dufferin. Westbound Gardner, that is still jamming up from Jarvis. We have this stalled vehicle at Lower Jarvis blocking a lane there. Off the major routes, a crash at Weston Road and Steeles. That's it for traffic.
This CP24 traffic report is brought to you by 407 ETR. Enjoy the journey with a stress-free commute.
Thanks so much for this, Heather. Well, buses are replacing streetcars on another busy downtown corridor.
Yeah, and for this story, we turn to CP24's Melissa Duggan, who's along Queens Quay. Melissa.
Hi, Bakari. So short turn, that might be your least favorite word if you use streetcars pretty often. But I have a kind of runner-up that I want to suggest for this list, and that is modernization. Because the TTC uses that word when it is doing work. That means that streetcars are going to be pulled and buses are going to be brought in. And that's what's going to happen here along Queens Quay and Fleet Street. Starting today is when work begins. We're going to see this phased out over the next 4 months. And it's happening along a stretch between Harbourfront Tunnel and Strawn. The idea during this time, this modernization, we'll see upgrades being done to the streetcar power network. So overhead, those wires are going to be replaced. They're going to be reconfigured. And below ground, that is where the power network is going to be upgraded. So while this is all going on, you're going to see those buses come into play. So give yourself some extra time if you do use this area for streetcars, just to plan ahead because you might need it. This is similar to the kind of work we've seen done at St. Clair and along Spadina. That's where buses have been replacing streetcars, really causing some traffic chaos along that stretch, something that the TTC has been working on for some time. There is only one person who could bring those streetcars back temporarily anyway, and that is Taylor Swift. The TTC acknowledging that they are expecting a lot of people that are going to be moving around when Taylor Swift comes to town. So streetcars in this area along Queens Quay and Fleet will be brought back when she comes to town in November. Stuart Green from the TTC explains.
we are going to add service for when Taylor's in town because it's important that we anticipate that a lot of people, for example, will be staying in short-term rentals or hotels near the Rogers Centre. So this, of course, will be a key corridor for people to get to and from the Rogers Centre from the south. Of course, from the north, there's the subway and the King streetcar, for example. So we'll have plenty of service out there during those concerts. We are used to running for big crowds at Rogers Centre when you think about 50,000 people for a Jays game or Blink 182 or whatever. But this is a bit different because we'll have so many people coming in from out of town. The travel patterns will be very different.
I don't expect Taylor Swift will be needing a Presto card for that time, though. As for this work, when it is brought back after Taylor Swift leaves town, it's expected to wrap up sometime early in the new year. Back to you guys.
I mean, you never know. Maybe Taylor Swift wants to take the streetcar or the subway.
Wouldn't that be a sight?
Maybe. Melissa Tegan reporting live tonight. Thanks so much, Melissa. There will be an early closure on a stretch of Line 1 for subway riders to keep in mind. That's happening this week.
Yeah, starting tonight, actually, there will be no service between Eglinton and College stations. After midnight, crews will be performing track work, and the service adjustment will remain in place through Friday. Shuttle buses will be running. The TTC says that regular service will resume each following morning at 6.
Well, some financial relief for drivers. Gas prices are the lowest they've been in months.
Okay, so the average price for a liter of regular, it was a little under $1.54 in the GTA. That was over the long weekend. That's the lowest that it's been since April.
Yeah, it's been a while since we've seen these numbers. Year over year, drivers are saving roughly 20 to 26 cents a liter. More savings are expected at the gas station, with some experts expecting another 8-cent drop by mid-September as producers switch from summer blend to winter blend gasoline.
Well, along with that, the season's changed. That means that also the bell is rung on the first day of school for students in Toronto.
Yeah, to find out how it went, let's go live to CP24's Andrew Brennan, who's outside Highfield Junior Public School in Rexdale. Hey, has that school offered you a job yet?
I'm seriously considering it after today. I'm not going to lie. My heart grew 3 sizes this day, talking with those wonderful young people from all things from what did you do at school? What was the best part about school? Here's a secret. It wasn't always recess, but for a lot of them, it was recess. And also, how many friends did you make? Did you like your teacher? So, as much as I'm having a lot of fun thinking about what happened just an hour ago when the school was being let out and talking with these kids, I think there's some through lines to mention. One, so many of these kids, when we asked them what they're looking forward to this year, they talked about getting good grades. They want to be the upstarts of tomorrow. They like math and science. Those were the 2 most common answers for the favorite subjects that they have. So I've said this before, I will say this again. We always talk about, because we're the news, the things that happen in people's community, we have to report on them. And so often it can be doom and gloom. And yes, that is part of the territory. And yes, that is our job to share what is going on in people's lives. But when you hear from these kids, I'm not going to lie, if you don't, have a little part of your heart that is starting to melt, then I don't know what to do, or I don't know what to say. So let's just show the kids. Let's show the kids. How was 4th grade?
It was like okay. It's like okay.
So what made it okay?
Pick up, you know how in the other school days you have to do so much work, and for day of school you don't?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Did you like your first day of school?
Yes.
Are you excited for day 2?
Yes.
Did you make new friends?
Yes.
What was the best part about today?
Meeting the teachers.
And tell me a bit about your teacher.
My teacher's name is Miss Grant, and she's really nice.
Even giving shout outs to the teachers. See, look, these kids are definitely giving me hope for our future, and obviously their futures, because they're the ones that are going to make it bright. The last thing I'm just going to wrap up by saying to the both of you, Lena, Bakari, we've talked about this cell phone ban coming to, that's now implemented in schools. So we obviously are not able to do scientific studies here, but when I've asked all the kids over the, say, age of 10, grades 4 and up, hey, what happened in school? Did you care that you didn't have your cell phone? Well, every single one were like, meh. It's just a phone. They were more happy to be able to see their friends and enjoy school. So we'll leave it there.
Okay, so Andrew, you teed this up for me. I believe the children are our future. Yeah, that's it, right? Okay.
Yep,
All right. Well,
yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. We're going to move on here.
All right.
All right. CP24 is Andrew Brennan.
Why?
Thank you.
No, we should. No.
Let's keep this
don't
going.
move
Why
on.
not?
This is what the people paid for. So, okay.
Lena's the one that can
Okay,
sing.
we'll
not
talk
me.
in a little
God,
bit.
I knew you were going to do that. Just put me on the spot, why don't you?
Yep.
Andrew Brennan reporting live.
Yeah.
We'll hear from you in the 5:30. Thanks so much, Andrew. Well, Premier Doug Ford was asked today about why convenience stores near schools will be allowed to sell alcohol when sales expand. That's happening later this week.
We're really looking forward on Thursday, opening up the 4,000 stores to have convenience for people. And I don't think you can, Richard, let's be fair. You're comparing a convenience store to a safe consumption site, injection sites. Last time I checked, the convenience stores don't have needles lying around the front of their stores, and they're well equipped. They've dealt with everything from tobacco to lottery tickets, now beer and wine, and they're going to be very responsible.
Okay, so taking that into account, the question to Ford, it referenced the province's decision to close safe consumption sites within 200 meters of schools and how cannabis stores are not allowed to operate within 150 meters of schools. Starting on Thursday, more than 4,000 convenience stores will be able to sell beer, wine, and ready-to-drink cocktails.
It is now 5:16, 22 degrees. You're watching Live at 5.
And coming up, Ontario is investing nearly $30 million to build almost 13,000 new homes in Brampton. That story's next.
Welcome back. The province is investing millions of dollars to build thousands of new homes in Brampton. The Ford government says the nearly $30 million will help build nearly 13,000 homes in Brampton. The investment will focus on flood management involving the Etobicoke Creek in Brampton's downtown, which officials say will then allow them to start building more in the area.
This money will help the city upgrade 600 meters of the Etobicoke Creek to improve the flow of stormwater runoff and floods. And once complete, will help Brampton get almost 13,000 new homes built faster. It's an important step towards achieving Brampton's Riverwalk project. It will help revitalize the city's downtown core and support the growing population and economic growth taking place across the region.
Our downtown needs some tender, loving care, and part of the challenge was this needed infrastructure work, and so this enables us to rip the bandage off and build a great downtown that includes housing. You want to see busy shops, busy restaurants. You need people. You need housing for young people. We're one of the fastest growing cities in the country. We need housing for those new residents, and this announcement helps unlock that.
I think it's a good step forward. I think it's really nice to see both senior levels of government investing in downtown Brampton, where there is an opportunity to address flooding. And if you address that flooding, then you can allow for some safe redevelopment in areas where there was previously a flood risk. So I think it's a step forward.
That money is coming from a nearly $1 billion fund designed to help Ontario municipalities develop, repair, rehabilitate, and expand drinking water, wastewater, and stormwater infrastructure.
And speaking of housing, the Canadian housing market appears to be showing signs of stability. This as interest rates begin to decline. According to RE/MAX's 2024 Fall Housing Market Outlook, average sale prices are expected to increase between 1% and 6% in most regions by the end of the year. 16% of Canadians say that they would feel more comfortable entering the real estate market if the Bank of Canada implements a rate cut of more than 100 basis points by the end of the year. 25% are actively saving for a home and believe they'll soon be able to purchase one. Analysts expect the Bank of Canada will be slashing its key lending rate again in its decision tomorrow. Economists are predicting another quarter-point reduction, even though economic growth came in at a stronger than expected annualized rate for the second quarter. It would be the third cut in a row and see the rate fall to 4.25%. Economists also expect further reductions in October and December due to lower inflation.
It's now 5:20, 22 degrees. You're watching Live at 5.
And coming up, new details in the deaths of Johnny Gaudreau and his brother in New Jersey as tributes continue to pour in.
Welcome back. New details are emerging about the man charged in the deaths of Johnny Gaudreau and his brother Matthew in New Jersey.
According to the New York Post, Sean Higgins worked as a financial officer at an addiction and treatment center. The 43-year-old is suspected of being under the influence of alcohol when the Gaudreau brothers were fatally hit while riding their bicycles Thursday. Higgins was arrested following the collision and faces multiple charges.
A memorial for former Calgary Flame Johnny Gaudreau steadily grew over the long weekend. Fans have been leaving flowers, balloons, and jerseys on the steps of the Scotiabank Saddle Dome.
NHL great Jaromir Jagr paid tribute to Gaudreau on social media, writing about Gaudreau assisting on his final goal in the league when they were teammates with the Flames in 2018. Quote, "It was a beautiful pass, above all," Jagr wrote. He added, "Thank you, Johnny Gaudreau, that you were here and you gave hope to all those guys by your unbelievable performances, that they can succeed at the world-class level in the NHL as you managed to do."
Johnny and Matthew Gaudreau were killed the day before their younger sister, Katie, was set to get married. She's posted a message on Instagram. Part of that says, "There are absolutely no words I have to express the bond my family shared. The entire world knows there would never have been a Johnny without Maddie or Maddie without John. The absolute best big brothers a little girl could have asked for. This will never be a goodbye post because I'll never stop saying your names and honoring you both."
Donations continue to add up in support of Matthew Gaudreau's widow, Madeline, who's pregnant with the couple's first child. A GoFundMe set up by her sister has raised more than $500,000.
So tragic. It's 5:24, 22 degrees. This is Live at 5.
And coming up, Canada captures a second gold medal at the Paralympic Games in Paris.
Welcome back. A 35-year-old wheelchair racer has captured Canada's second gold medal at the Paralympic Games in Paris.
Absolutely remarkable. Cody Forney from Victoria won the men's C51 200-meter sprint. The win comes a day after Nicholas Bennett of Parksville, BC, finished first in the men's 100-meter breaststroke. Canada now has a total of 12 medals at the Paralympics.
Well, the Blue Jays return to action when they open a series at home tonight against the Phillies. They had the day off Monday after blowing a late lead to the Twins in Sunday's matchup. The loss was the Jays' fourth in their last 6 games. Chris Bassett will take the mound tonight.
Right now it's 5:28, 22 degrees. This is Live at 5.
Toronto police are sounding the alarm tonight about a shocking number of shootings in the city over the Labor Day long weekend. And the latest murder victim is a 15-year-old boy who was supposed to start grade 11 today. We'll have more on that coming up.
"11 shootings, 3 of them fatal." Police reveal more details about the deadly long weekend violence in the city.
And the city's latest murder victim is a 15-year-old boy who was supposed to start grade 11 today at Weston Collegiate.
And the TTC is upgrading the streetcar power network on Queens Quay and Fleet Street. That means buses are replacing streetcars on a busy stretch.
And another first day of school is now in the books. We'll hear from the parents and kiddos tonight.
This is Live at 5.
Good evening. I'm Lena Latifat.
And I'm Bakari Savage. Toronto police are sounding the alarm tonight about a shocking number of shootings in the city over the Labor Day long weekend.
Yeah, let's take a look at these sobering stats. There were 11 shootings in 10 different police divisions across the city. 3 of the shootings were fatal. Police provided an update this afternoon. They tell us they've seized 6 firearms and charged 6 suspects. The message to the public, if you see something, say something. They're urging any witnesses to get in touch.
And we're also learning that the city's latest murder victim is a teen boy. Family members confirmed 15-year-old Mario Giddings died in hospital after being shot last night. This is at a plaza near Black Creek and Trethewey. Police believe that he was targeted and multiple rounds were fired at him. He was shot just steps away from a police station.
The person that do that to him, those young people, right now, when you step on a young person's feet, now you have to tell them sorry, because those young people just walking with guns, 15 years, the boy have all his life over to live, and you are telling me that you kill him?
It's just hard. I can only imagine what my kids them feeling right now, like knowing that there's no Mario. Mario does just come and open my door, and he'll just say, good evening, good morning, and he just heads straight to the kids' them room. Sometimes I go in the room, and I think my kids them there. No kids there. Mario just there by himself on the phone playing his game while my kids gone sometimes. Like, this is just so unbelievable.
And for the latest on the police response to the deadly violence in the city, let's go live to CP24's crime analyst Steve Ryan outside Toronto Police headquarters. Steve, it's so difficult to listen to those clips, to hear from those mourning family members. 15-year-old shot to death. That is so senseless.
Who targets a 15-year-old child? And I was at that scene last night, Lena, after the call came over at 7:45 p.m., Trethewey and Black Creek. And as we'd been reporting, it is yards north of a police station. So the presence of a police station, a police officer, certainly is not a deterrent when it comes to these brazen crimes. There were shell casings scattered all over that Strip Plaza parking lot when we got there, and now a 15-year-old boy is dead as a result of continuing gun violence in the city.
Okay, so Steve, we'd be remiss without asking, what is this like for you? What was this like for you as a detective when you had to deliver this news to the parents? We just heard those emotional clips, and I think it's imperative that you relay this again for all of those people out there committing this type of crime.
You know, Bakari, that's one of the key reasons why I left homicide after almost 15 years in that office that I was very proud to be part of, and that was doing that door knock, doing that 11 o'clock, 3 a.m. door knock where you knock on the door, you know, you're on call, so you're freshly out of the shower, you're squeaky clean. Clearly, you're there for a reason, and a parent opens the door, you ask, are you so-and-so's mother or father? And they say yes, and then you hit them with that news right between the eyes right away. It's not like TV where you invite them, you say, can I come in, grab a coffee, you should sit down. They know something's gone wrong, and you give them that news right away, and it is absolutely heartbreaking. And when I heard that family through those clips that we were playing through this, our last bunch of hits, my heart sank, because it brought me back to those days when I would hear that firsthand, and it was a sound that you can hear on tape, but when you live it in real life, it's something you never forget.
Just devastating, Steve. I want to talk to you about the numbers. We heard the concern coming from Toronto Police today. 11 shootings across 10 divisions, 3 homicides. How did Toronto Police try to get a handle on what's happening in our city?
Well, they're doing their darndest, that's for sure, as are all the other police services across the GTA. Lena, they are making arrests on the daily. There are huge projects that are costing hundreds of thousands of dollars that are very successful, where you have 30, 40 guns seized, 40 people arrested. But there's a common denominator, and we've been talking about this for the last bunch of weeks. The common denominator are a few things. Repeat offenders, offenders out on bail, guns coming in from the States, young offenders, and offenders who have already been before the courts and been ordered not to possess weapons. There is solutions to this other than arresting people, but it needs to come from political will, and it needs to come from the laws being implemented when it comes to bail. If you are charged with a gun crime, you just don't get released. Now, the difficulty with bail is that you are not convicted, you are just charged. But protection of the public is one of the main ingredients that the Crown can rely on to ask the court to detain somebody. I would argue that a gun crime is in the protection of the public to keep them in custody. So there are a lot of things to do aside from arrests, but the police need a helping hand, that's for sure.
Okay, 11 shootings, 3 fatal over this long weekend. CP24's crime analyst Steve Ryan. Thank you, Steve.
Thanks, Steve.
Well, police have released footage of a brazen shootout, this in Hamilton, in hopes of identifying the people involved.
Shocking dash cam footage shows 2 people trade gunfire in broad daylight as one person stands between them. Bullets can be seen striking the ground as one of the suspects runs away. Police say the shooting happened on the night of August 10th around 7 o'clock at Sanford Avenue in King Street. Investigators are appealing for the 3rd person in the footage to come forward. Police describing their involvement as being used as a human shield during the shootout.
And Premier Doug Ford also talked about gun violence. This was during a stop in Brampton when Ford was asked about legislation that would give homeowners more rights to defend themselves during robberies.
We need to throw them in jail. We don't need to throw them in jail for a day or 2 days. We need to send them to jail for years and keep them behind bars, because if there's a deterrent, people are going to think twice about breaking in to someone's home. And it starts with a criminal code, then it starts with our judges and our JPs. We can't be letting these criminals out on the streets.
It's now 5:37, 22 degrees. This is Live at 5.
Brampton says it's doing more to crack down on dangerous drivers. We're going to show you what steps the city's taking next. Buses are replacing streetcars on another busy downtown corridor.
Yeah, for all the details and reaction, let's go live to CP24's Melissa Duggan on Queens Quay. Melissa.
Hi, Lena. So it's this kind of time of year when you get back to the old routine and maybe you launch a new project. That's exactly what the TTC is doing here along Queens Quay and Fleet. They are starting an upgrade program that is going to be modernizing streetcar power service in this area. It's the same sort of thing we've seen in other areas of the city as well. Think St. Clair, think Spadina. The idea is to upgrade wires above, the power system below. That way streetcars can be running properly. But don't take my word for it. Listen to this TTC's Stuart Green. He's explaining exactly what's going down here.
The Queens Quay line for us is one of the first ones that was done. So like St. Clair was one of the first ones that was done with the newer overhead system, which is called a pantograph system. I won't go into the technology of it, but basically it means supplying better power and cleaner and more power to the vehicles. The challenge that we have, of course, is that we never envisioned having this many streetcars in the network. So we just weren't ready for it, and that's the honest truth. These upgrades will make us future ready, so that when we get those extra streetcars, we'll have enough power, enough good resilient power in that system to make sure that all the streetcars can run efficiently.
These improvements are going to be happening along a stretch between Harbourfront Tunnel and Strawn. And again, going to take about 4 months for this to fully roll out, but it is going to happen in phases. So you will see a streetcar service going up to a certain limit, where buses were going to be running from after that, and then it's going to kind of move on from there over the 4 months ahead of us here. Taylor Swift, though, she is coming to town, and when she is here in mid-November, streetcars will be operating during that time. So a bit of a break when a pop star comes to town, but expect the work to continue after Taylor Swift leaves. And Lena and Bakari, we are expecting things to fully wrap up early in the new year. Back to you.
Okay, CP24's Melissa Duggan along Queens Quay. Thanks, Melissa. Well, the TTC is teaming up with a third-party app to test a feature aimed at keeping riders informed about diversions on their routes.
Yeah, the agency is launching a year-long pilot of the transit app's detour detection function. It uses machine learning to identify when a bus or streetcar deviates from its planned path. The app marks the section of the route not being served during the detour, along with closed stops. On a map, it also displays temporary routing information, which allows customers to find their next nearest stop.
Well, Toronto police launched their back-to-school traffic safety campaign. The campaign focuses on keeping children safe throughout the city streets, specifically in school and residential zones. And police will be on the lookout for drivers who speed, drive aggressively, drive distracted, or impaired. Officers will also have increased presence in school zones, looking for those who are parked illegally or vehicles potentially putting others at risk.
All right, it's 5:43, 22 degrees, feeling like it out there as well tonight. Let's stay on the roads and get a check on how that evening commute goes with our traffic specialist, Heather Seaman. Back to reality for so many. Does that mean it's busier out there, Heather?
We are seeing a lot more volume than usual. Yeah, it's back to school week, so expect more motorists to be out and about, more pedestrians, more cyclists. So do drive carefully. Let's go straight to our cameras. I am seeing a bit of improvement, 401 through Dufferin. We were dealing with a lot of volume, both eastbound and westbound. There are some earlier problems cleared, but as you can see, eastbound really heavy in the express lanes. 401 across the top of the city, busy as you approach the 427, off and on to the 404. Speaking of the 404, here we are approaching the 401 southbound. A bit of volume there. Northbound Don Valley Parkway. Not too bad here through York Mills. Most of the volume, actually, you can see it's jammed up here from approaching Millwood to north of Lawrence. We still have that, it's an earlier crash off to the right shoulder, just a visual distraction. So eastbound Gardner, volume from South Kingsway. to about Dufferin. And the westbound Gardner, we had that stalled vehicle blocking a right lane at Lower Jarvis. That's cleared, but still seeing the volume from Jarvis to west of Bathurst. Off the major routes, that crash cleared at Western Road and Steeles. That's it. Back to you.
Thanks a lot, Heather. Well, Brampton says that it's doing more to crack down on dangerous drivers.
The city has announced the opening of its new automated speed enforcement processing center. 110 new speed cameras will operate in front of schools and parks by the end of this month.
I know people who will say, I don't like photo radar, I don't like speeding. Well, don't be an idiot and speed in front of a school where there's children, and you won't get a big fat ticket. But if you're going to be an idiot and speed in front of kids, you are going to get a big fat ticket, and we're going to hit you where it hurts most, and that's your pocketbook.
185 cameras will be up and running by the end of the school year.
It's now 5:45, 22 degrees. You're watching Live at 5.
Yeah, thousands of students across the GTA. They went back to school today. We're going to take a closer look at sleep. We're going to speak with a sleep specialist about how to adjust to the back-to-school routine.
It was an extra special first day for some students in the Queensway and Islington area.
They walked into a brand new school for the first time. Holy Angels Catholic School has been totally rebuilt over the past 3 years, during which time students had to be bused at a different school. We talked to some kids and parents before the first bell. Okay, well, another bell has rung, and that means the first day of school for a lot of students in Toronto.
To find out how it went, let's go live to CP24's Andrew Brennan, who's outside Highfield Junior Public School. That's in Rexdale. Andrew, you conducted a lot of interviews today. They were all amazing. I have to say my favorite was when you asked, hey, how was the first day of 4th grade? And a kid said to you, it was okay. Nothing special.
I appreciated his honesty, though. He was being honest. Listen, I know that not everyone is going to have an amazing first day of school. First of all, as a lot of these kids love math and science, statistically speaking, it's impossible to have uniformly every single child you interview say things are great, even if they really want to be on TV. And I'm not going to lie, they were so adorable and they were so attentive and they waited so long in the end, like we're trying. And they waited for, like, some of them 15 minutes. So even as they had that much of a desire to want to share with our viewers at home on CP24 how their first day was, yes, there was one in the whole bunch who said that it was okay. The rest of them had a lot more positive things to say. Why don't we just have them take it away? This is some of our very non-scientific sampling of students on their first day of school. Did you have a good first day of school?
Yes.
Yes? So what was your favorite part?
My favorite part was going to recess.
What grade are you in?
2.
2? So how's the second grade going so far?
Very good.
So tell me a little bit about your teacher.
My teacher is Mrs. I, and she's the best. I went in recess. I played with my friends. We kind of played tag and freeze tag.
That's a lot of kids that say they really love recess, and I'm not going to lie, so did I. But, Lena Bakari, for the more studious amongst us, let it not be said that a very large cohort of these kids said that they were excited for science and math and learning. And you did see one shout out for a teacher there. We got quite a few for just the teachers here at Highfield. There's a lot of people that are excited to be back to school, excited to make new friends, and excited to go to recess. And with that, I think me and cameraman Albert are going to take our recess. What do you think?
Okay. I have to say, I still love recess. Recess granted, Andrew. Thanks so much.
Me too.
All right, CP24's Andrew Brennan. Well, after a summer of sleeping in and staying up late, a lot of us are heading back to school and back to routine. So it's time to get back to a healthy sleeping schedule.
Yeah, and for some tips on how we can do that, we're joined live now by Dr. Michael Mack, psychiatrist and sleep medicine specialist at the Center for Addiction and Mental Health. Dr. Mack, thanks so much for joining us. So parents, students, they're all going to want to get back into this sleep routine. What advice do you have for them?
Well, here's the key. I mean, during the summer times, young people like to socialize and hang out with their friends. lots of us, we all accumulate, maybe bad habits that aren't necessarily working at good purpose with, the onset of school. What we'd like to do is sort of like go to sleep a little bit earlier and wake up a bit earlier so that our sleeping schedule and waking schedule will line up with our school and work obligations. If you waited until today, this is the first day of school, it's a bit late. But what I recommend to people is that, in the days leading up to more longer periods of school to shift your time to bed earlier by 15-minute increments, wake up 15 minutes early, and that way you can, get to work and get to school and feel good about it.
Okay, Dr. Mack, can we talk about screen time, the correlation between screen time, sleep, and, that night vision? Does that feature help at all?
We think that it might help to some small degree, but the best way to have the best sleep is actually just avoid exposure to screens, whether it's through smartphones or tablets or even your television or computer screens. Please avoid those things for at least 2 hours before your desired bedtime. I'll explain to you why. The light from those types of screens actually mimic the light from the sun. It tricks your brain to thinking it's daytime. And so what's the point of sleeping then? It's counterproductive to sleep.
Is there anything you can replace your phone with then? Maybe grab a good book. Like what should we use as a substitution, doctor?
Yeah, I think if you do some reading with a dim light, or you use an e-reader that isn't necessarily backlit, I think those are helpful alternatives. So no bright lights.
Okay, Dr. Mack, I have to ask you about this a little bit on a personal level. I'm not going to name any names, but someone who's very close to me, I share my home with, has this multiple alarms. Does that work? Why can't you just set one alarm and let that be it?
You know what? Some people can wake up with no alarms. Some people need 3 or 4 or 5 or 6. Whatever does the trick is good with me. Maybe one last tip. Try to wake up every day at the same time. This way you're not shifting your wake and sleep time from night to night. That's a form of social jet lag, an artificial form of jet lag. Wake up every day at the same time, and maybe you'll go from 5 or 6 alarms down to just 1.
And finally, Dr. Mack, back to school jitters, that's a real thing. What's your advice for children who might be feeling anxious about this time of year?
Well, it makes sense. You're not the only person that's a bit anxious about going back to school, but it's also a very exciting time, new teachers, new friends. Specifically about sleep, try not to think too much about it. Let it happen naturally. The more you think about sleep, maybe that's counterproductive too.
Okay, Dr. Michael Mack, psychiatrist and sleep medicine specialist at the Center for Addiction and Mental Health. Hey, thank you very much for your time this evening.
Thanks, guys.
It is 5:54, 22 degrees. You're watching Live at 5.
At the CNE, it's over for another year, but what are they going to do with all of that extra food? Lena, you cannot have it. We're going to find out next.
No.
The CNE is famous for its food vendors as well as their unique creations, and today they're going to be helping by giving back to the less fortunate.
Yeah, the X says its food vendors will be donating surplus supplies to Second Harvest. They're hoping to gather more than 25,000 pounds of food. The CNE says it's rallied more than 100 vendors as part of the effort aimed at feeding the community and reducing food waste.
We asked them if they would be willing to come together, and because at the end of the fair, there's a closeout period, there's lots of potential waste, and we always want to control that waste. Actually, since 2008, our target's always been to be able to at least recycle 90% of the organics, and we've been successful in doing that, but this time we get it to the food banks, which is really important.
Well, more than 1 million people experience the CNE this year. Counting is still underway to determine the final attendance tally.
Well, the Art Gallery of Ontario has received one of the largest private donations in its history.
The gift is from the estate of late businessman Philip Lind. There are 37 works from 24 artists, including abstract painter Philippe Guston and Chinese dissident artist Ai Weiwei and British sculptor Anthony Gormley. The donated works will be on display at the gallery from November until fall of next year.
Well, Bakari, it's almost that time. The Toronto International Film Festival gets underway later this week, and a downtown street will be transforming for the occasion.
Yeah, King between Peter and University. It will become TIFF's Festival Street. This is when the event kicks off Thursday. Organizers say there will be an art market, food, drinks, free entertainment, and activations for film fans to enjoy. This is going to be the 9th year TIFF has put on the Festival Street. It's going to be open through Sunday. And Lena, I have to tell you, I'm excited for the horror movie with Demi Moore.
Ooh, yeah. I'm excited for Angelina Jolie. I hear she's coming to town. I mean, Festival Street, you can never go wrong. There's so much star power there. It is 5:59, 22 degrees. You're watching Toronto's breaking news, CP24.
Thank you for watching. CTV News at 6 is next.